Alright, so a lot of people tell me I don't have time to cook healthy. This is where I love a challenge. Alright, so the quinoa is on the stove. You know, it doesn't take very long to measure 2 cups of water and toast up that quinoa, less than 5 minutes. While that's cooking up, I'm going to grab some of these delicious vegetables that I got at the farmer's market, and I'm going to cut them up. During the time that I use to cut these vegetables, that quinoa is getting cooked and will be ready as soon as I get these vegetables chopped up. So I'm going to start chopping. Now you can cut these vegetables any way you want, because basically it's your choice. It's your meal, it's your choice. Cut the ends off. Now, I like to make the vegetables kind of big. For me, that just makes a really delicious looking meal, but it also just tastes really good and hearty for me. I notice that when I eat a lot of vegetables, that my body just performs better, and I like the way I feel. So when I cut the vegetables, I try to make them hearty and big, and just kind of makes me feel better about them. So we're just going to cut those up, and I'll be adding those in to the quinoa as it's cooking, just to make the vegetables a little bit tender. You don't necessarily want them to get soggy, so I don't throw them in until the quinoa is almost all done being cooked. Alright, so there's some zucchini. I'm going to put in some fresh cilantro. I'm going to put in some peppers. Remember that the base of the quinoa has onions, shallots, and garlic, so there's going to be a lot of flavor. I'm going to go ahead and cut up some peppers. Again, these are either organic or from the farmer's market or from Trader Joe's. I just really think that the quality of vegetables that you get is important, and also I like to encourage buying seasonal foods. If a food is not in season and you see it in the grocery store and it's all shiny, ask yourself, where did that come from? So here in California we're pretty lucky because we get this great weather, and so we have pretty good selection of fruits and vegetables all year long. Not everybody has that, so don't worry about using some frozen vegetables. I would much rather use frozen vegetables than drive-through. Which, by the way, I would like to prove to you sometime that as much as I'm cutting and preparing this quinoa recipe, that this is actually going to take you less time than it would to order a pizza and drive and pick it up, or let's say drive through a McDonald's and go get some food that isn't nearly going to be healthy for you or your family. There is a little saying that says that America is overfed and undernourished, and I believe that because we live in a country where a 99-cent burger is easier to get than just about anything else, that people think that that's going to be a healthy meal. But when we see how much disease is out there right now, we're realizing that that isn't a healthy meal. And that was one of the things that made me have such a problem with being overweight, is not understanding that those kinds of meals really aren't healthy. Alright, so now I have this bowl of delicious vegetables, and I'm going to throw that in with the quinoa as it's cooking towards the end, so the vegetables will stay tender.
Go.
Oh, that smells so good. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. The man behind the camera has been saying, "Oh my gosh, this smells so good," for quite some time now. And it does. Oh my gosh, it really does. All the vegetables I put in there, the onions, the scallions, the garlic, the jalapenos, they're all just blending and making this delicious smell. The quinoa, it's doing its thing. It's getting ready to open up. So we're going to add these vegetables now. You don't really have to do anything specific. You just throw them in there. And I'm also going to add this can of cut tomatoes. That's just going to add a whole bunch of deliciousness. Oops, wrong spoon. Alright, so I put the tomatoes in with the fresh vegetables. Now for the seasoning. As if the garlic, onions, and shallots aren't enough, I'm going to add a little bit of my favorite Himalayan pink salt. I'm going to add a little bit of fresh ground pepper, and I like to grind it myself because it just gives it more of a punch, tastes fresher, just tastes more delicious. And I'm going to add a little bit of ground cumin. And again, to your own taste. Cumin isn't something you add a whole lot of to most things anyway, it's a small pinch. And then I have here a little bit of just red chili powder. So this really, it's funny because with the ingredients that I'm using, with the cilantro and red chili powder and the cumin, you would think that it would sort of have a Spanish taste to it, but it doesn't really. All right, so now that quinoa, it needs to open up. So I'm just leaving all the liquid in there, and I'm going to cover it up again and give it its true 10-15 minutes of cooking so that those seeds open up and it becomes that delicious quinoa dish that we're all waiting for. Smelling good. It's just about done, and normally I don't want to open the lid when quinoa is cooking because you want the steam to help cook it. But with this dish, I kind of like to look at it in between, make sure the vegetables are all getting cooked, and so that I have a good idea when the quinoa really is ready. But what you don't necessarily expect is when you open it up, it's like grown, and it's become like its own creation. So the quinoa is not completely cooked yet, so I'm not going to stir it yet. There's still quite a bit of liquid in there, but I just wanted you to take a look at it and see how it's grown. And I think that that's just such a cool reaction of how the quinoa goes from a tight little grain to this wonderful, light, fluffy little spiral. So it looks like it has about maybe 7 more minutes to go. And once all that liquid is evaporated, stir it up and it'll be ready to serve. All right, so I've just taken this delicious dish off of the stove and I'm ready to take the lid off and take in some of those amazing aromas. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. Now I'm going to show this to you. Haven't stirred it up yet, but all the liquid is completely evaporated out. The quinoa has opened up. The vegetables are tender. Now I just simply fluff it all together. Super easy. Keep in mind that all of this took the same amount of time that the quinoa took to cook, which is about 15 minutes. So, I think most of us have 15 minutes to prepare a meal. Now I'm going to put it on this plate, and I'm going to show you pretty much an entire meal health-wise. You've got your protein and your vegetables, your whole grain, everything that you possibly need. But there remains the question, how does it taste? Well, I'm going to answer that for you right now. It looks a little hot, it's kind of steamy, but I like spice and I like steam. So let's give it a try. Get some tomato in there, some zucchini. Delicious. Yummy. Lots of words coming to mind right now. But even a little bit nutty. And the reason why is because we toasted the quinoa. And because the quinoa is toasted, when you take that bite, you're getting texture, a little crunchy, along with the vegetables, which is tender, delicious. Okay, so my cameraman's back there and he's drooling. I think I made this plate for him. Come on over. Enjoy.